Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Musings of Modern Mystics. My name is Lorelei Hewitt.
And I'm John Davis.
And today we are talking a little bit more about spring and about how to align your life with the seasons that flow through our planet. Because you are an earthling, you are made of earth stuff, and you are also affected by the seasons. You're affected by the weather when there's a high pressure system that comes in, and it can give me a sinus headache if there's a high pressure system. We're affected by things like eclipses. If you've never seen
the full moon.
Yeah, the full moon. If you've never been to a full solar eclipse like we had last year, you really understand, wow, your body is affected by things that happen cosmologically, I believe, astrologically, but also just weather-wise. So it's spring, yay. And there's some really cool, wonderful things that happen this time of year, one of which is that everything starts blooming and sprouting. And how can that relate to you and your life? How can you use that particular energy to transform things that you want transformed? So take it away, John. What do you?
So, you know, politicians watch polls to get a sense of what the people are feeling, and one of the polls is the country on the right track or the wrong track? Now, it's not Democrats or Republicans or, progressives versus, evangelicals or any of that stuff. It's just a general feeling that people have, and they poll for this feeling. Are we on the right track or the wrong track? So when you're feeling, this is the point of our talk today, if you're feeling fragmented,
yes,
a little confused, and you're on the wrong track, then you have to get back on the track, but you don't know where to start because you're confused.
Yes.
Because your relationship ended, you just got a bill for $3,000 for a water heater and some other stuff that you don't have the money to pay for. You have a bunch of things that have come up that have thrown you off your track. The question is, how do we get back on track? When I was a little kid, we used to have trains, and we got for Christmas, and little motor car things that are little raceways. And when the thing went around the corner too fast, it fell off. The same way if you're in a relationship that's not working, or you're in a business that's not working, or you're working for somebody at a job that's not working for you, you've fallen off the track.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do we get back on the track? So we're proposing that one of the ways to get back on the track is to align yourself with whatever season you are in. Right now, it's spring. So we're going to talk about how to align yourself with the season of spring to get you, for whatever it is that's knocked you off the track. It doesn't make any difference what it is, but to go to what the larger sense of the energy is here in the Northern Hemisphere. And we happen to be in the Northwest, so we're feeling spring now. There are daffodils that are up. There are, even though it's 48 degrees outside, there are things that are coming up out of the ground, and they have decided that it's spring, that it's time to take the regeneration that's happened during the winter and begin to come up. But what does spring do from a standpoint of our wanting to get started to put ourselves back on the track? This is a time where you plant seeds. So planting seeds, what are the seeds? What are you willing to water? What are you willing to take care of? What are you willing to put the compost on? What are you willing to do the things that are necessary for those seeds to sprout into something in the summer that you can harvest for yourself? But first, we have to get ourselves back on the track. First, we have to get into a calm place. First, we have to get into an open space. And for that, we have to find a way to quiet the mind and go, what do I want to see in 6 months?
Yeah.
What do I want to see in 6 months? Let's give me 6 months as we put ourselves back on the track. But what would we want to see? Now, of course, we all want to see it right now. We all want to feel like somebody loves us right now. We all want to see our money situation taken care of right now. But you know what? Sometimes that doesn't work that way.
No, just like when you're looking at your garden, you planted the seeds. If you go out and watch them every single day, nothing sprouts. It's like watching a kettle boil. It doesn't happen. You need to just go do something else once you've planted the seeds. I like to call that sneaking up on myself. I like to think of it as going sideways about things. So when I've planted the seeds of something that I really want to manifest, to happen in my life, what I will do is I'll plant the seeds. I will make those initial steps. I'll open the doors, and then what I do is I might distract myself by doing something else for a while, by focusing on a different project for a while, and let that one just sort of simmer, let it sort of just let it happen. And then when I turn my attention back to that, I'll go, oh, wow, look at that. It started to sprout. It started to grow. One of the things that shamanism has taught us is how to watch nature for the greatest lessons in life, remembering that we're nature. We are also of the natural world. So what affects all those plants is affecting our bodies, it's affecting our minds, it's affecting us on a physical level, which cascades into an emotional and spiritual level as well. So what are some interesting things you can learn from your garden, right? Wonderful analogies. One of the things that I saw looking out is the trees are starting to bloom. Sorry about that. As the trees are starting to bloom, is that there are some seed pods stuck on the branches of some of those trees. And I thought, wow, it's the seeds that are willing to let go of their mama tree. It's the seeds that are willing to let go and die and become something new, something else. I'm not, and maybe die isn't the right word, but you don't really know what's going to happen next most of the time.
But you have to take the chance. You have to take the chance. Once you let go, once that seed lets go and drops to the ground, then I have a whole yard full of cherry trees. Okay, they have maybe 10, 15 cherries on them because they are the original cherry that comes with the seed. What happens is the birds grab them off the tree when the cherries are semi-ripe, and then they fly for a little bit, they eat the outside of it, and drop the pit to the ground. In the winter, a deer comes by and stomps on that thing into the mud, and all of a sudden, a couple of years later, I have a 13-foot cherry tree growing right in that spot.
Oh, cool.
And so you look at that and you go, that's how it works. Mm-hmm. But you can shepherd, as humans, you can shepherd all those stages.
Yeah.
Somebody long time ago watched all of that and said, I can do all of those stages. And the thing is that we have the capacity to do those stages. So we have the capacity to think ahead. One of the keys of abundance always is that we already see it happening. We already see what summer will look like. We already see what our seeds will do. And we don't have any frustration, as you were talking about, that, because frustration gets in the way of manifestation.
It does.
We go, where's that plant? How come it's not grown up yet? I put so much work into it, and you're dealing with your own disappointment, which goes back many, many years and has nothing to do with that particular plant. You have to keep your mind clear so that I planted the seed, I water it every day, I take care of it, and I am holding the vision of what it will look like in a couple of months, in 6 months, in 3 months, in 4 months, so that I'm right there with it, that I'm holding open that space. Because you know that when things fall from the trees, only a few of them
Yeah.
have enough oomph to actually produce a tree later on. But like I said, with the deer and the mud, anyway, it takes some help.
Yeah.
And so you are the help that you need.
For your ideas, yes, you are. You are the help you need to manifest your own seed, and hopefully you don't have a deer coming along and stomping on it. But it's good to remember that sometimes what looks like an obstacle to your dreams is actually a blessing. It's not a curse. It's an interesting thing that happens, and look at it and wonder about it and be curious about it and see what you can do to use it to your advantage. That's another thing that humans can do that that cherry seeds cannot do. But there's a lot we can learn from the cherry seeds, from the nature around us. The other thing that is occurring to me, John, is how tricky it is in a garden when they first start coming up. And I remember when I planted a row of carrots, and I didn't really know for sure what the carrot looked like from the top. I know what it looks like underneath,
Okay.
but on the top,
Yeah.
I needed to weed, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't sure what the weeds were and what the plants were. So a couple of times I ended up actually pulling little tiny carrots up. I was pulling up the wrong thing. So that would be another analogy that I would encourage you to look at when you're gardening, is make sure that you know in your life, is this really a weed? Or is it something that you need to keep in your life? And sometimes I think you need expert advice in knowing what to release, knowing what to pull up, and knowing what to allow to sit inside you, knowing what needs to be there and what doesn't need to be there.
All thoughts that are not organized around 3 to 6 months in advance of the planting of your seed are weeds. So take a look at all your weedy thoughts that go through your head, especially self-criticism. Oh, I didn't plant that right. Oh, I didn't do this. Oh, I didn't do that's never going to happen. Oh, I'm never going to get that love or that money or that that thing organized, or my children helped in that way. And you go, that's a weed.
Yeah.
So make sure that those weeds are pulled, that you can see them in your garden of your mind, and you just go through them and you go, but that spot where the seed is, where the seeds are planted, is hallowed ground. And treat them the same way you would any religious institution that you might have ever gone to, or any holy spot on the planet that you might have ever visited or want to visit. That place where the seed is hallowed ground, and everything that's growing around it is a weed. And that in your mind, it's like all self-criticism is a weed.
Yeah, it is. There really is a lot that we can learn from watching the gardens and watching the springtime and watching what happens with the flowers and the trees inside of ourselves. But just like a garden really can be helped by having a gardener. You know, there are things that grow wild, and like blueberries and strawberries and things like that. They grow wild, and you can know where to forage for those mushrooms. But if you want to cultivate something intentional inside yourself, sometimes it's helpful to have another gardener help you with that. So I'm going to put a little plug in here for you to find help with energy healing, with nutritional supplements, with therapy. When you want to make a change, go at it from all directions. You have to massage the soil that you're going to use with fertilizer and manure and things that the plants need to eat. I love that analogy that the plants will eat the waste of other creatures. So what are some of the other things so there's the massaging of the oil, massaging of your own life, of what you need, the weeding of the mind, and the watering, right?
Everything on this planet needs water to survive. There's very few things that will survive no water ever.
Yeah.
So we have to look at that as a divine substance. So sometimes I look at the weeds in my mind and I go, I don't want to water them.
Yes.
I don't want to fertilize them. I don't want to make it obvious that they're getting the same thing that I'm trying to give the seed that I want to flower and to produce fruit and to give me the thing that is part of my creative enterprise here during the time that I'm here in a body on earth. I don't want those things to be in the space with me. Okay, now there are some things, and that's what we use in gardening, companion planting. There are some things that secrete things in their root systems that other things pick up in their root systems. And so they're a companion plant. They help each other grow to their fullest. And in companion planting, we can plant things a lot closer. Let's say these plants need to be 4 inches or 5 inches apart. Okay, well, in companion planting, you can put them 2 inches apart. Because they help each other grow strong, then it works that way. So
like that.
The weeds just strangle whatever it is that you're growing, take up a lot of nutriments, and so you have to weed your mind every day. And that involves getting down into the space where your words are coming through your head. Now, you got to remember that in all abundance training, that it's nonverbal. The plants aren't talking in the same way. They're not speaking English. So if you have some thoughts in your head about what you can and can't do and what the resistance is and all of that, those are all words. Mm-hmm. So we want to be able to get down below where words are created to find some truth. And that truth is the fertilizer that helps your plant grow. Do you want love? Do you want money? Do you want a new job? Do you want, it depends on what it is, what you see in the next 6 months, how you prepare the ground for that, and how you plant the seed for that, and how you use that moment we all have of fragmentation, aloneness, lost, and we start going, how do I get back to myself? And that's aligning with nature. And this is spring, and so we're talking about how to align with nature given that this is spring.
Yes.
Plant those seeds, weed the garden, fertilize it with your truth.
Yep. And don't give too much air, time, oxygen, or water to those things that are weedy in your mind. Yeah. All right. And if you need help, you can always contact John or I as healers to help with the weeding process, because sometimes when the garden just gets too overgrown, you need to call somebody and say, you know what, I can't do this on my own, which is actually the method that I prefer when it comes to real gardening most of the time, to be quite honest. I'm just going to call somebody. But
I talk to plants, so it's
totally you do. Yes, you do. You are
animals.
You are. You are the vegetable and fruit whisperer. That's for sure. And I get to enjoy the fruits, literally, of your labors for that. But anyway, there are so many wonderful things that you can do to help yourself through this next season. And I think with that, I feel kind of complete with this.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Have an awesome week.